Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this evening I want to talk to you all a bit about Warlock and Season 4. So, over the past, I don't know, 4 days, whenever S4 dropped, I've been streaming a lot, and I've been getting a lot of questions about what is our BIS gear? Is there a BIS list? What do the trinkets look like? What's the best unused trinket? What's the best equipped trinket? How is Warlock in the raid? Is Destro bad? Is Destro good? How is Demo? Why is it being played so much? What items we want to target with coins first, where are legendaries going, and basically every question in between, and that's totally fine. But I wanted to make a video talking about it all because I feel like there's not a lot of information out there. I was going to make a spreadsheet for Season 4, but with Alpha being, in the state that it's in, most likely getting Warlock talent trees in a few days, and with S4 being really cool at the start and probably petering off a bit towards the end, I felt that it wasn't the best use of time. And this video is where we're going to be addressing all those things. So sims in this video, any kind of BIS list you see in this video, or BIS list, because there really isn't a BIS list, I'll say that right now. There'll be links to it down below in the description or the comment section, and all the info should be pinned in there if you want it. Now, if I don't answer any questions in this video that you have, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section, and I will be sure to get back to you. To a similar extent, any add-ons, week warriors, or profiles you see, link to my Discord down below, and my Twitch, where I stream 5 to 6 days a week. We can grab them all there for free. If you want to swing by and hang out, just answer any questions at the same time, feel free to do so. So all that being said, let's jump into the video first, talking about BIS list and the fact that there really honestly isn't a BIS list, depending on what kind of content you're doing. All right, so when it comes to like BIS list and BIS gearing, the best answer is that honestly there really isn't anything within reason. So the cool thing about Season 4 is that if you're actually raiding, it's like whether you're doing heroic, mythic, or whatever, it's pretty easy to build what would be considered your BIS list, because if you look at the actual loot tables in Season 4, you have all three end bosses, or end bosses being like KT and Sylvanas, or Rygalon, Lords of Dread, and the Jailer. And they all end up dropping. This add-on, by the way, that adds this loot table here is called, let me find it, everyone's going to ask in the comment section. It's called Shadowlands Season 4 Encounter Journal. I'm sure Blizz will patch it in on Tuesday, but this is the actual add-on until you get that. So, Season 4, the big thing is that, so we have end bosses that drop higher eye-level gear. If you're a Mythic, it's 311 for the final few, being Sire, SLG, and Anathria. For Heroic, I believe it's 298, which 298 gear puts you on the same eye level as max Valor upgrades, which makes things a bit more interesting depending what you're looking at and what you're doing. But if you're raiding Mythic or can get your hands on this gear, it's pretty easy to build what is considered your BIS list from the end bosses. Now, I had this list made, I'll put it in the comment section below, from 2.5 months ago, whenever I started talking about Season 4. The only pieces of gear from what I remember that are not 311 from all the end bosses, SLG being back, chest, Sire being ring, which you don't want, we'll get to that in a minute, hymnal, which is very good, shoulders, you have the other bosses here as well, let's see, you have Sanctum with KT, you have a neck, shoulders, belt, you don't want this trinket, two-handed weapon, Sylvanas has helm, and bracers, all this end tier loot at 311, the only pieces that you cannot get at 311 are going to be legs and boots. Now, you can get these wherever you want. They're probably going to be 304 from regular Mythic or somewhere around there from Mythic Plus. That's fine. That will probably vary a decent bit depending on what you want secondary stat-wise, what you can get your hands on. But the big thing is that if you want a BIS list, the vast majority of your gear in that BIS list is going to be from its end bosses. If you're not raiding Mythic, I would say, and killing those end bosses, your BIS list isn't really something that you can just make up, because everyone's class is going to vary, everyone's character is going to vary, secondary stats will vary, which will skew sims for everyone. The best way to look at your BIS list is to go to raid bots, run a drop optimizer sim, plug in your character info here, you'll be good to go. You scroll down here, I am choosing 298 here, which is the equivalent of max Valor gear or plus 12 Leaky Vault gear. You can go all the way up to 304 if you want. And you can scroll down and it will show you what technically the best item is weapon wise. You can see weapons here, bracers, and this will give you what is essentially your BIS list if you're not raiding and chasing the 311 loot. Now, there are a few options when it comes to 311 loot for certain pieces, like you can get the neck from KT or the neck from the Jailer. There's a few options from Helm, I believe, as well here. And you also have the creation catalyst you can put things in. So a lot of it will vary if you're not doing end tier mythic bosses, which is why the drop optimizer sim is your friend. It takes 2 minutes and it will give you what is considered your BIS list and show you what dungeons you should be targeting, more or less, for that BIS list. With that being said, there's a few caveats to that. Let's talk a bit about trinkets, Mechagon rings, and what to buy with your S4 coins. first. So when it comes to spending your 3 Dinar coins, and keep in mind, the first coin is going to take 2 more weeks essentially from where we're filming this video. It takes 1 full cycle of basically 30 bosses. You got to kill 30 bosses for the first coin, 20 for the second, and then 10 for the final coin. So they come in faster and faster. We won't be able to target a piece of gear for probably another week and a half, depending on where we're all at, I guess whenever you see this video. The first one takes a while. The big thing, you can target 3 items total. So the 3 on the list, in relative order, are Antumbra, Shadowed Orb of Torment from Ner'zhul, and then Kabbalist's Hymnal from Sire Denathrius. Now keep in mind, you can also get like normal hymnals or normal orbs and upgrade them through the other system they have in game by getting this currency from bosses. I believe it's right here, to upgrade them to the higher difficulty, or I guess higher difficulty above whatever you're looking at. So the big thing here, I'm saying number 1 for targeted coins, and this can all change if you naturally loot a Shadowed Orb of Torment, or loot, let's see, an orb, or a hymnal, or an Antumbra. But if you don't loot any of them, I think the most important thing is going to be Antumbra. The dagger is very good, the effect is very strong, but you'll want an offhand for this as well. Now, this sim does indeed have Maledict Opus above Antumbra, but that's because it's putting a 311 Antumbra with my 285 Jailer offhand. If you pair this Antumbra with this Jailer offhand, or say better offhand in general, you can see it's more valuable than a Maledict Opus. Now, the big thing, if you loot an Antumbra, it frees up 1 coin. But number 1, Antumbra. Number 2 is going to be, in my opinion, Shadowed Orb of Torment. So, right now, there really aren't a whole lot of good trinkets out there for on use. We lost Ruby, we've lost Ooze, which is an equipped trinket, we even lost Changeling, which is an equipped trinket, but we lost Ruby. And Ruby was, our good trinket for a very, very long time. Looking at the sims for like the good on use trinkets out there, number 1, these are all the eye level they're relevant at. 304, 304, here's Meat Hook, here's Stun Grenade. Orb is ahead of whatever I'm comparing it to, being a 288 Stun Grenade here, by about 351 DPS. The big thing to take away here is this is comparing an Orb to a Sigil, and once again, you want to run your own sims. I'm using my character because it's 4 in the morning, using my own profile. Run your own sims, but this data matches what we've seen for the past few weeks when we've been running sims, behind the scenes and everything. So, Stun Grenade, not a terrible option. I'm playing it now at 304. You gain about 50-ish DPS from a 288 one. Not really worth it upgrade-wise for Valor. Meat Hook is interesting. It's a 2-minute trinket, which lines up very well with every large tyrant. It's sort of similar to Ruby's cooldown. The thing with Meat Hook is that look at the intellect on this thing. There's 107 intellect at 304. Look at the orb. There's 160 intellect at 304. There's a lot of haste on the Meat Hook. It's a lot. It's like a mini bloodlust. But at the same time, losing that 50-ish passive intellect for the entire duration of whatever encounter you're in is pretty big, which is why it sort of devalues this trinket. I'm not saying it's bad. I would definitely hold on to it, because it's been mentioned a lot that these trinkets from Iron Docks aren't actually as good as they seem because there's not a lot of main set on them. Welcome to WOD scaling. So Blizz might address this, and if they do, it could shift priority here a little bit. But Shadowed Orb of Torment appears to be your best on-use trinket for Destruction, Demonology, and Affliction. It's a good trinket. It was buffed in this patch for whatever reason. It was BIS before then. It's even better now. But it's also one of the few on-use trinkets out there. It's just not stupid and terrible. So Orb is very, very strong. Sigil obviously can be strong in certain spots too, like it is now. A lot of verse, 5-minute cooldown, and then Meat Hook and Stun Grenade are the ones that are in the bit of the, middle ground now. I've been playing Grenade for a little bit with Demo and Wilfred's build. Seems fine, seems good. But it's hard to say because we're not sure where Tuning's going to go with Meat Hook long-term intellect-wise. But Shadowed Orb appears to be, for me, the second buy and the best on-use trinket out there. So when it comes to equipped trinkets, however, keep in mind, once again, Ooze is gone. Changeling is gone. There's still some options. Hymnal from Cancel Nathria, which you're actually in right now, this week being Faded Week 1, is a very strong option. Now, I've seen sims where Scars is much closer to Hymnal, even ahead by a little bit, which is why, once again, it's very important to run your own sims. These are the sims from my own character. It might vary from my character to your character. It actually will. But what I'm getting at here is that Hymnal is simming for me in a non-Hymnal group about 150-ish DPS better than Scars of Fraternal Strife. Now, Scars is the Jailer trinket, the one that gives you, damage-based effects or more secondary stats with the more runes you apply. But the problem is that when you apply runes, you have more negative effects, corruption effects on you. You take damage, you're slowed, you explode for damage in the raid. So it's a kiss curse kind of trinket. It's not bad. The thing is, though, if Scars and Hymnal are even close to each other within 30-ish DPS, people are probably just going to play Hymnal because nobody wants to deal with that. This trinket was buffed by 25% before the patch went live. It's been bad for all of Season 3, so, I mean, these sims, I want a Hymnal. Now, if I end up actually even making this a 4-stack Hymnal group, the difference at that point is then 317 DPS, favoring Hymnal over Scars and then Titanic Ocular Gland. Now, there are some other equip-based trinkets like the ones from Karazhan and other weird ones that do damage effects. None of them are very good from what I've seen. These are the ones that are on the radar. There's the one from Kel'Thuzad, Forbidden Necromantic Tome, also not very good. These are the ones that are actually on the radar. So you have Ocular Gland from Eye of the Jailer, Scars from Actual Jailer, and you have Hymnal. Now, if you haven't gotten your Hymnal this week, it's unfortunate, I haven't gotten mine, but you can target it in a few weeks with coins. So, like I said, number one for me, probably Antumbra. It's hard to get. Only the boss one drops two pieces of non-tier loot every week, and it's once every 3 weeks to kill Rygolon. Number two, probably Shadowed Over Torment. Number three, most likely Hymnal, as my big 3 items rounding out my 3 Dinars. Once again, if you loot one of these, the world is your oyster. You can buy something else with your coins, but Hymnal looks to be your best equip-based trinket overall. Shadowed Orb looks to be your best unused-based trinket overall. And Antumbra plus a different offhand looks to be your best overall weapon combo of choice. So when it comes to legendary slots in Season 4, things are actually backwards from where they were in S3. So legendaries are going to be your lowest eye level piece of gear in Season 4 when you get more gear, whether it's 304 or 311 or even 298 from just, max Valor upgrades. Legendaries are going to remain at 291. Now, the issue with that is there's insane epic piece of gear that you've gotten from this long quest line. They're legendary, but they're very low eye level compared to everything else. Unless Blizzard decides to bump up the eye level passively, which they very well might end up doing because it seems like pretty awkward game design, you're going to want to have your legendaries go from being your best, largest pieces of gear, like for example, helm and chest. These items have more main stat, more intellect, more secondary stats, being haste, mastery, crit, verse, than other smaller items like boots, or the smallest ones like bracers and cloak. You're going to want to shift your legendaries from the large pieces to these smaller pieces. For example, I have Madness on my helm. Madness can be made on helm and gloves. I can't make Madness on bracers and cloak. However, I can make it on gloves. Gloves have less main stat than my helm does. I will move Madness to gloves whenever I end up getting a better helm, turning the helm to a tier piece and wearing, this as my off piece on gloves. Because once again, this will be a lower eye level than, the other gear that we're acquiring. Optimally, bracers and cloak are the pieces you want to have your actual legendaries on. So if you're playing Wilfred's, for example, let's put this on. I have Wilfred's on a ring currently, and I have Unity on my helm. But long term, I want to shift this legendary to bracers, which I've already done for a couple different builds here, and then shift my Unity legendary from my helm to my cloak. That will give me the most value from higher eye level pieces on my helm, on my rings, which are going to be Mechagon rings, and go from there. Now, once again, depending on your class, you're going to have to sort of take that into account, your character. If I got, for example, a helm upgrade right now, I could move Unity to something else at a lower eye level, like legs, which would still give more value early on in the patch to min-max. I don't care that much. If you want to do that, sure, feel free. But long term, the lowest pieces stat-wise, bracers and cloak, are going to be where you want to have your legendaries. If you can't make it on bracers and cloak, make it on the smallest piece you can possible, as long as you're not losing a whole lot of eye level somewhere else for whatever reason. Okay, so when it comes to Mechagon rings, if you watch stream anytime over the past, 4 days, I've run 25 or so upper Mechagons, and I haven't looted a rebooting bitband, which is the haste bitband, the haste ring. I wanted to run a sim comparing Mechagon rings to similar eye level rings because people have been asking how good are they? Is it worth farming? Well, here is your answer. So this is my current Grim Inquisitor sim for Demonology. The rings I'm wearing are this. This is not the good ring. I'm just wearing it for stats. And I'm wearing like this and the Rygolon ring. Now, you cannot get Rygolon ring at 298. Well, I guess you can from Heroic, but you can't get it now. Either way, I bumped these two rings up and gave them sockets just to compare them to the Mechagon ring. So here is a sim comparing, this is where I'm currently at right now. Mechagon rings are a whopping 431 DPS gain at 298, not 304, not a higher eye level, with sockets and with enchants. if I bump my current rings up to 298 and give them sockets, Mechagon rings are still nearly a 200 DPS increase over the same ring, same eye level with sockets. That's how good they are. So the one you want is Overclocking Bitband. This is from Upper Mechagon. This is from Workshop. The one that gives X amount of haste for 15 seconds whenever the other ring does its thing. There are 2 rings you can get. The Logic Loop of Recursion is the one you want a bit more than this one here. So this one says if you damage an enemy while you're behind them. I believe behind them is like anything but being directly in front of them. It'll proc this ring. It sims well because it's just sims. It'll sim fine here, but it won't have as high of an uptime necessarily as this ring. If you use 3 different spells or abilities on the same target, once you use 3 different spells in your opener, this ring basically just maintains a permanent uptime on the haste effect. So if I could skew this sim or show how, okay, maybe I'm in front of the target for a little bit, you wouldn't see this ring being over this ring. There's also a 17 DPS margin of error. Logic Loop of Recursion is what you want over Logic Loop of Division. Both rings will proc it, but in the long run, you want Overclocking Bitband. There is a ring from Upper Mechagon that gives a damage effect. It's fine. I play it over nothing. It was still a good option, but Overclocking Bitband and Logic Loop of Recursion are the 2 that you want. This is from Junkyard. This is from Workshop. Godspeed and good luck. I am 35 plus dungeons in so far, and I have seen 1 drop that I did not get. But yes, Mechagon rings are indeed very good and worth farming if you care in S4. And the last thing that I've gotten questions about, this is probably the thing that's been asked the most on stream over the past 3 to 4 days, is what spec is better in Mythic Plus? Because we know Destruction obviously got nerfed. The 4-piece no longer gives Reign of Chaos, so you can't chain that Reign of Chaos value basically forever in dungeons if you're in combat the entire time. Looking back at how it was in S3, you drop your main player bound Infernal, and Reign of Chaos would just build from your 4-piece when you had that actual Infernal down. It would lead to, in high settings, 90+% uptime on Reign of Chaos, a big single target buff, an insane AoE buff. That 4-piece has been nerfed, but I want to emphasize that Destruction is still good in Plus. It's not necessarily the fact that Destro got nerfed, it's sort of the fact that these dungeons, Upper Karazhan, Workshop being the Upper Mechagon key, Rim Rail Depot, and even like, a little bit of like actual streets, they're in a sense more single target priority-esque focused dungeons. There's not these insane massive pulls you can make and get incredible Destro AoE value. You can get them, but there's prio mobs, there's bosses. It's also tyrannical week 1. Demo just has gained value in these dungeons, even looking back to where they were played in the past. Like, they had similar damage profile demands that had to be met by other specs, or even when it came to Junkyard, Demonology was played in Junkyard a bit back in the day. It was played in Upper Kara or Upper Mechagon, I'm sorry, as well, and it probably would have been played in Upper Kara if people had to. Destruction is not bad. I've played both Destro, I played both Demo. I played both from Inquisitor's Demonology, which feels great. I've played Wilfred's Demonology, which feels great. I've played Wilfred's Destro, and there's even some Madness Destro being played recently in the past couple days to bring that more single target, 2-target prio on-demand burst profile, like on Upper Karazhan, for example, Shaded Medivh, having the burst those ads down. So it's not that Destro is bad. It's not. Just these dungeons sort of demand different damage profiles, and early on, whether you're pushing keys or just trying to farm gear, it's a bit more important. It's sort of like how you're in a progression setting versus a farm setting. In farm, you go in, you play the big AoE build, like on Lehuven, for example. Now you go in, you play Inferno, you just AoE the ads out. In Prog, you play Demonology because you had to kill the ads. It's sort of like that, a bit of a mix of both a Prog versus farm scenario and dungeons having more of a Demonology relevance. Destro is still very good. Demonology is still very good. The good thing, Warlock in general is still very good in Mythic Plus. But yeah, that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video helped answer some questions you guys might have had about Season 4, gearing-wise, just coin-wise, just in general. Destro, Demo, they're both good in Plus. Trinkets, Mechagon rings, you want Mechagon rings. Shadow over Torment, Cabal's Hymnal. Warlock is still good. The sky is not falling. Demonology gained value this patch due to like damage profiles on dungeons. Destruction is still good. It still has a very strong AoE profile. And as far as the season's been, I've enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Dungeons, seeing the old ones come back, have been a lot of fun. I loved Upper Mechagon. I still love it to this day, even though the ring won't drop. I've run 35 to 40 dungeons on stream. in the past 3 days, 3 or 4. I've streamed like 45 hours in the past 3 or 4 days, which is like a little bit more than what I usually stream in a 4-day time span. I've really been enjoying S4. I would assume next week an alpha Warlock talent tree is probably hit, so that'll probably, you know, shift my focus a bit more towards that. Hopefully I'll be covering that here as well if you want to see it. So yeah, hit the like and sub buttons below if you want to come back and check that out. But realistically, if I missed any questions or anything, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section, and I will be sure to get back to you. I might have missed a couple because there's been a lot of questions about S4 stuff, but I think I answered most of them in this video. And while you're down there, once again, yeah, hit the like and sub buttons. It helps out a ton. I also want to give one huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys a million times for all support on Patreon. I really, truly do appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, there should be a link up here as well as down in the video description below. I've really been enjoying S4. Next week is Faded SOD, and while I really didn't enjoy Sanctum Domination a whole lot raid-wise, if it's anything like Council Nathree was for us this week, I probably am going to have a blast. We were planning on only raiding 2 days this season, Wednesday and Thursday, but there was even talk of adding a day, like on Sunday, potentially because people were enjoying it so much. S4 has been a lot of fun. Once again, I'm hoping to shift my attention to Alpha a bit if Warlock trees hit, but if they don't hit this week, well, there's more to be done in S4. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.